Hey everyone, Yahoo! Today we're going to do some urine testing. So we learned all about what you can learn from a urine sample yesterday when we took notes, and then you did a little practice with that in the evening. And then today we're going to actually do a live urine testing. We're going to take 4 samples. We're going to test them all out. I'm going to give you some information that you might not have because you're far away from me, but I'm also going to help you like dip the sticks in and all that stuff, and you can read the pH level and all that today. So first things first, if you have not opened up your CAMI Schoology worksheet that has your urine testing diagnosis data sheet on it. It is located in your folder for today. So if you haven't done that, pause here, open up that worksheet in CAMI, and this is what it should look like, just like this. Again, if you don't have it opened yet, pause here. Assuming you guys have it opened, awesome. So we're going to be looking at 4 studies today, 4 different samples. I have the 4 samples in front of me. I'll show them to you in a moment. This is where you're going to record your data for each of the 4 samples. Now, we do have a little bit of patient history here below. This gives us a little bit of information about the patient before we start testing their urine. Notice we're testing all of the things that we learned yesterday. The color, so you're going to need to write what the color is that you see when I hold up the sample. The clarity, so the clarity, if you recall, was if it was clear, I could see light through it. If it was slightly clear, if it was cloudy, meaning it had like white cloudy stuff in it, or if it was turbid. So turbid was that term we used. If there's lots of things floating, it's a dark color, as if you like stepped in a mud puddle and all that stuff floated around, that would be turbid. I'm also going to smell for you. Yes, I am not going to do what that lady did in the video yesterday where she stuck her nose in it. I am going to do the wafting. Wafting, wafting. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to waft. And then I have both pH strips and glucose strips here today that I'll be dipping in and comparing to the different little what do you call those things? The scales too, so we can make sure that we find out what the pH and the glucose is. Now, with all this information that we collect about each patient, you should be able to come up with a diagnosis. Now, as patient care techs or nurses or technologists and stuff, we are actually not allowed to diagnose, but we give our recommendation to the doctor, and the doctor puts his stamp on it as the diagnosis. Okay, so we're trained to look for the things that are wrong, and that's what we're going to do today. See if there's anything wrong. So it's kind of like a game of Clue. If you think of Clue, where you're collecting clues about this patient and you're putting it all together, and process of elimination is going to lead you to what you think the diagnosis is. Okay, so our sample A right here, I'm just going to read through here, is a patient that's a 55-year-old male. He drinks mostly coffee and soda. He easily tires and feels lethargic. So lethargic means he's super tired and run down. He also states that exercise is for the birds, meaning he doesn't like to exercise. His height is 5'10", and he weighs 260 pounds. So we have a urine sample. I'm about to show you what it looks like. Here comes the urine sample. Here are my 4 urine samples. We are doing A first. So here is sample A. I'm going to open up sample A. Here we go. I am going to give it a little bit of a stir just to make sure we have everything. You can kind of see what it looks like. Okay, so first things first is you need to record the color. So if you take a look at the color, I'll get it real close for you. There's the color. Okay, that's the color. Yeah. You go ahead and write down what you think the color is. Okay. Second is the clarity. So is this clear? Can I see through it? Can I see the other thing through it? Is it cloudy? Is it turbid? Does it have floaties in it? If it doesn't have any of those things, it's considered clear. Perfect. The next thing is the smell. Lucky me. Here I go. It's coming to my nose. Wafting. It actually has just a light odor. It's not too bad. It doesn't smell too bad. So that's a plus for me, right? Yeah. Woo! Good thing I did the wafting though. All right. So this one we've got color, clarity, and the odor is not bad. It's actually a light odor. So that's good. We're going to now dip this is my pH strip. So the pH strip is going to go into the urine sample. Here we go. Into the urine sample. And most of these take about 30 seconds to change. The urine sample, the pH strips take about 30 seconds. The glucose ones take a little bit longer. So we'll leave the glucose one in there a little bit longer. So I'm just going to kind of give it a little tap on the paper towel I have here. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to compare it to my pH scale here. So this one is actually two-sided. You can see way down here is 0 and it goes up to 7 on this side. If I flip it, it goes from 7 all the way up to 14. So my chore is to take this and try to match the colors. See how I gotta match the colors? Let's flip it over here. So, yeah, it's gonna be probably right in here somewhere. Yes. Yeah, probably right about here. So write down what you think the pH color is based on the number next to it. It might even be up there a little bit. Okay, that's the pH for A. Go ahead and write that down. Second, we're going to do the glucose strip. So I'm going to put the glucose strip in. And we're going to kind of, it's just got one color on it. We got to let it sit in there for a minute, for probably 30 seconds or so. So already you might be thinking about some things that this person might have wrong just based on the color, the clarity, the smell, and now the pH. So maybe there's something going on with this patient. Maybe there isn't. We'll find out. I'm going to see if that glucose strip changed yet. So while that's sitting in there, this is my glucose scale that I have. So you remember in the lesson yesterday, we had a glucose strip that went from 0.25, 0.5, 1, 2.0, right? This one looks a little differently because it's in hundreds. We just need to move the decimal point over 2 spots, okay? So this green one here would actually be 1.0. This would be 3.0, 10.0, and 30.0. So these are definitely high, okay? These are going to be high on. So really anything that isn't yellow is going to be high for glucose, okay? So let's see what our strip turned out to be. Holy moly. Okay, here we go. Here's our strip. See if you can say what that number it best relates to. All right. Go ahead and record that one. This is your glucose level for sample A. Got it good? Excellent. All right, so we got all of our information for sample A. I'm going to go ahead and close up sample A. If you'd like to pause for a moment now, you can do that. While we make sure you have the color, clarity, smell, pH, glucose, and then if you want to try to discuss it or write down what you think the diagnosis is, take this moment now to do that so we can pause this video, or we're going to keep moving. I'm going to keep moving. Okay, welcome back. If you paused, here we are. Patient sample B. Patient is a 22-year-old female athlete that drinks at least 40 ounces of water a day. She's very conscious of her water drinking, apparently. She exercises daily and is feeling no symptoms, so this must be a routine checkup for her. Her height is 5'6" and she weighs 142 pounds. Okay, so let's pop back on over. Remember, we're looking for color, clarity, smell, pH, and glucose. So I'm going to pop back over to our urine samples. And here is sample B, right here, sample B. Take the lid off sample B. I'm going to hold it up so you can see the color. Go ahead and record the color. This one's pretty easy to tell what color it is. And the clarity. So remember, clarity is going to be, is it clear? Is there floaties in it? Is it turbid? Is it cloudy? Can I see through it? If you can see through it, you see light through it, and there's nothing floating, it would be considered clear. You can see the color of it. Yep. Awesome. Here comes the smell, guys. Here we go. Wafting. It literally actually has no odor at all. Very little odor, if any at all. There is no odor for this one, which makes me happy as a person testing it. I mean, I could have said it had a light nutty odor, but it really doesn't have much odor at all. So that's good. That's good for this person. All right, let's go ahead and check the pH. Oops, this one's been used. I apologize. Let's check the pH of this lovely young athlete. Comes my pH strip. Again, I need about 30 seconds with it in there. You can see it's turning a little bit wet. I mean, it turns a little bit color almost immediately, but not too bad. Not quickly. All right, let me go ahead and pull out my list, right? This is the pH. This is 0 up to 7. Let's see. It actually looks pretty close to 7. I'm going to flip it over just to make sure. We're looking at this one here. There's this one. So you go ahead and write down which one you think it is based on the number right next to it. And you just have to remember which ones are normal, which pH is normal. If you recall, the normal urine pH level is between 6 and 8, 6.0 and 8.0. That's the normal pH. Okay? All right, let's do the glucose. I have a fresh glucose strip here. And we got to let that sit in there for a moment. Again, here's our glucose scale. And again, this is 0. So this is actually 1.0, 3.0, 10.0, and 30.0. Clearly, these are going to be off the charts, right? Yeah, we shouldn't have that much glucose in our urine, ever. Even severe diabetics shouldn't have that much. All right, let's take a look, see if we got any changes. So we're going to take this here. You tell me which one you think it is. You go ahead and write down. Remember that this is 0. This is 1.0, 3.0, 10.0, and 30.0. It's definitely not the green up here. It's going to be one of these down here. Which one does it match better? Okay, record that one. That was sample B. Let's go back and see what sample B looks like. Well, make sure we have everything correct in here. So you should have written the color here for sample B, the clarity, the smell was very little, the pH, and the glucose. Then you're going to take a moment and write your diagnosis. If you need a moment to stop and pause, go ahead and pause the video. We'll come back for sample 3 in a moment. And welcome back. Sample 3 is on the board here. Here we go. This is sample 3. Patient is a 25-year-old male having sharp pains in the posterior region of the lower left quadrant of his abdomen. That is a mouthful. So what this means, posterior means behind, right? Our back. So the back of his lower back, he's having sharp pains. The pain comes and goes and feels as though it's moving inferiorly, meaning it's moving downward. So the patient is typically active and wants to feel better so that he can get back to his routine. He is 6 feet tall and weighs 189 pounds. So his only complaint is that he's having this pain in his abdomen, in the back, right? And it's kind of moving a little bit and he just wants to get back to normal. So let's take a look what his urine looks like. I like how it focuses. Here is sample C right here. Oh no, already I can tell something's wrong here. This doesn't look good, does it? Here's sample C. Remember, we're taking color and clarity. So take note of the color. I think I already know what's wrong with this guy. Maybe you guys do too. Color and clarity. So clarity means, are there any floaties? Is it clear? Can I see light through it? Is it cloudy? Anything like that. So definitely write the color down and the clarity. The next is the smell. Here I go. Okay, this smells a little sour. This is kind of sour smelling. Okay. This is a little bit sour. Not a strong sour, but it's definitely different than the others. It's a little bit sour. Okay. All right. Next up is pH. Let's get a fresh pH strip and we'll dip it in. See what we get. Oh my goodness. Did you see what happened when I did that? Look at when I stir it up. Look at the stuff floating in it. Ooh, there's stuff going on in there. Okay. Something happened to this for sure. Holy moly. Let's find out what's going on with this pH. So this is my high pHs. I don't see any blue or green, so it's definitely not on this side. We got to flip over. Here we go. Let's see what our normal is here. Which one do you think it is? Wow, it's really clear to look right in between, isn't it? That first little square on there has two different colors on it. I think it's turning the darker one though, so I'm going to go down here. I think it's more like here. So whatever number is next to that, that's going to be our pH. You figure out what the pH is from here. Okie dokie. Record that. Next thing we'll do is the glucose strip. And again, we have to leave the glucose strip in there for a moment. And we'll look at our glucose here. While that glucose strip is soaking up in there, you can go ahead and back and make sure that you have all of your things written down for sample C: color, clarity, smell, pH, and now glucose. Let's check the glucose. All right. This looks a little different. It's definitely picking up some of the red tinge from it, isn't it? So it's definitely not green. I'm going to say it's probably going to be down in here. I don't think he's got glucose in it. I think it's just a little bit red because of the color of the urine itself. Had some red in it, correct? We're going to call this 0. I'm going to go ahead and give you that one. That one's going to be 0. All right, that is sample C. We just have one more to do. Let's go ahead and pop back over and see where we're at. So sample C was right here. You should have written the color, the clarity, the smell. I said it was a little sour. pH and glucose, and then your diagnosis. So you should start thinking about what is going on with this patient, with what he says his symptoms are having, what the color, clarity, smell, the pH is going to be a good giveaway, and then write down what you think the diagnosis is. Our last sample is up. So if you need to pause right now, go ahead and pause. Talk about what you need to talk about and write down your diagnosis, and we'll be back. All right, we're back for sample D. Sample D is the patient is a 35-year-old female that seems to always be thirsty. She urinates often and has a burning sensation during urination. So when she goes to the bathroom, it burns and hurts a little bit. She claims she just hasn't felt right over the past few weeks. She does not exercise regularly, and there is a family history for diabetes. That should kind of give you a clue right there. We definitely want to check her blood glucose or her urine glucose, right? She is 5'7" and weighs 215 pounds. So let's hop on over and take a look at our sample for patient D. Here is our sample for patient D. I am definitely going to stir this for you, because as I was looking at this, number one, you need to do color. This is a lovely color. It kind of looks like orange juice. Do not put orange juice as a color. But I wanted to kind of show this to you. And clarity. Is this clear? Can you see all the way through that? It doesn't look very clear to me. I think I can see some stuff floating in there. Yeah, it's a little, there's floaties in there. So this is an interesting color yellow. There's definitely floaty. So remember what clarity that would count as. Is that clear, somewhat clear, cloudy, or turbid? And now for the smell. Here we go. Oh, this one smells really bad, actually. This is an awful smell. That's a strong smell. Okay, that's an awful smell. Ew. Lucky me, you guys don't have to do this. It's okay. It's cool. It's cool. I'll take one for the team. All right, here comes my pH strip. Let's see what we got for pH here. See what we got going on for pH. Take a guess what you think maybe the pH is, just based on the color and the smell. We learned some things yesterday that led us to believe it was one thing because of color and smell. And clarity. All right, let's get this one. I'm going to go over here. Let's see. Oops, there's my ring light. Can you see my ring light? Let me move this way out of the way. Yeah, I'm not a YouTuber, blogger, or whatever, but I got a ring light. Yeah, dude, I do. All right, so let's see. I'm going by that orangey one. That orangey one. So I'm going to say it's probably right about here. So that number there, right? This one, that's our number for pH. Now light bulb should go off in your head about the pH being that color. Hopefully there's a light bulb going off right now. All right, let's put the glucose strip in. Oh, I dropped it. I'll get it in a moment. See how cloudy that is? You can see how cloudy it is with that strip in there. You can barely see the strip at the bottom. So that just gives you another idea of what the clarity is, okay? Definitely a cloudy, floaty type of situation, right? So let me get my glucose out. We're going to take a look at this glucose strip and see what happens. If it is what I think it is, it should have already turned. By golly, it is. Here we go. It's not 0. Is it 1.0? Is it 3.0? Is it 10.0? Or is it 30 plus? You be the judge. What is the glucose level? And again, this should be a nice big indication. So sometimes our patients, by the way, have more than one thing wrong. I'm going to give you a strong hint that the last one has more than one diagnosis. So make sure that you go back through and read what it says about the patient, that they are always thirsty, they urinate often, and they have a burning sensation when they go to the bathroom. She doesn't exercise, and she does have a family history of diabetes. So based on the color, being the color was the clarity, which it was actually kind of cloudy. The smell I said was really bad. The pH, we remember, that was actually higher than normal. The glucose wasn't 0. What are going to be our diagnosis? You're going to put that right in here. And that wraps up our lab. What do you think? Hopefully you did okay. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can ask your teacher about them, and we'll go from there. If you want to rewind and review another one of the samples over again, feel free to do that as well. I hope you learned something and you had a little bit of fun, and I'll see you next time. Have fun, guys.